Okay, this is the project. So basically, you have a user interface, just like it's simple, like add student, update student, delete student. So it is a kind of a student application form or student registration form where we can add students, we can update student details, we can delete student details, we can list students, right? And all that will go to controllers. Like where it will go to controller call student service call student DAO, which is your Hibernate code that connects to the database, right? So I'll run this program to you so that we can see. Then I'll explain the code, okay? Okay, so let me take this database. Okay, so we have this table. So I'll just say select star from student. Okay, so these are the different things. So now what I'll do is I will take these servers. I'll remove this. And I'll click on add. See, I can just take this run as. I'll use maven clean. I can take a build file. Run as maven install. Now see if you go to target, student tab.var is there, right? So you can just copy this. I have Tomcat installed already separately. You can copy here. Right? So now what I'll do is I'll just go to your command prompt. See, I'm running Tomcat separately, not from Eclipse, okay? So now I'll say, I'll just say localhost 8080 student tab / Okay, then I'll give this URL. I'll give this URL. So list, student hyphen list. Student hyphen list. Now you see, you got a student data application form where you can list the student, how many students are there. You can add the student also. Suppose I want to add few more students, I'll add it. Let me add let me add I'm just adding your I'll just give Vamsi, Krishna. I'll give some kind of Vamsi dot Krishna @gmail.com. Right? I can add few more details and I click on save. Now, when I click on save, you got to see Vamsi Krishna also added here. Right? Now I want to update some data here. I want to update now. This is Ramesh Babu mail. Okay, I'll see in the database whether Vamsi Krishna is added or not. If it is added only, it is coming here. Yeah, Vamsi Krishna is added in the database. I think spelling is okay. Let me again update. If spelling is mistake, right, I'll update it. Update. Here I'll say not KIR, it is Krishna. Click on save. Now you see the data got updated. Now I can go here. Now you can see the data got updated. Earlier it is KIR. Now it is KRI. So similarly, I can update anything. Suppose I want to update Ramesh Babu mail ID. I can say like this. So Ramesh Babu 1, his mail ID got changed. I'm just clicking on save. Now see his mail ID got changed. In the database also. Ramesh Babu 1. Earlier it is Babu, it is Babu 1. Right? So, okay, similarly, if you want to delete, I want to delete, say, Krishna Kumar, for example. So, Krishna Kumar is not there in this. We can add as many number of students, no limit. Suppose I want to add, I'll add one more student, or I'll delete the existing student. Krishna Kumar is not existing in this training. I'm deleting it. It is asking, you want to delete the student? Yes. So it got deleted, you see. That and it got removed here also. Right? Similarly, so click on add student. Now I'll say now Pradeep Babu. Pradeep dot babu at the rate gmail.com. Right? Now I click on save. Now Pradeep Babu got it. Right? So you can add as many students here and you can update it. You are not now you clicked on update. Now you don't want to update anything. Again, you want to go back to list. So first tell me how this project looks like. I mean, this is not so complex project or any, but at least for a beginner, is this good or not? For a beginner, this is good or not? See, this is not like having so many complex things. See, at least you can take this project code and you can enhance, you can increase more features, right? I'll share you this project code. So this project code is here only. Simple way, but so how first for example, whenever any request comes, what will happen now? Or whenever the application is getting started, your web.xml, right? Your web.xml should say that any request should go to the URL pattern, right? So first any request comes. So let me do this. Now see, when you say load on startup, what is load on startup? Means it is a feature in this servlet where this application. So whenever application gets started, dispatcher servlet gets loaded, and that uses and that uses this XML file and uses XML file specified in context config location parameter, right? So application display gets loaded and that uses this XML file specified in this context. So what is this XML file contains? Now let us go to that XML file. So this is your XML file. This is your XML file. So what it contains, I'll tell you. Right. I know actually. So this is what actually. So this we have seen this XML file. What this XML file contains? It will scan for the components present in this package. We know this. We know this. Where I explained you this. This is a complete your annotation driven, which is a basic for your Spring MVC. If you don't have this, your MVC will not work. Then also I told you internal resource view resolver, where the JSP path is resolved with the prefix plus the string written from the controller plus the suffix. So till this part is fine, right? Everyone clear with this part? This already we've seen in our basic MVC program, right? Right, this part, everyone we have seen, right? So this part, yes or no? We have seen this or not? Right? Right. So now what is this one now? From here we'll see. Now we are going to integrate Hibernate. See, we studied MVC separately, we studied Hibernate separately. But now we are going to combine both your Hibernate and we're going to combine both your Hibernate and MVC. Okay. Okay. So basically for Hibernate, what is required? If you see our separate Hibernate code, if you see, what is required in Hibernate? We require a session factory. From session factory, we can create session. Okay, we require a transaction, right? So this is what we need in Hibernate. In Hibernate, we need session factory, right? And what is session factory? Basically it needs a database connection, right? Database connection details like host name, password, right? Next is session factory, right? Then what it needs from session factory, we can create sessions. Then what it needs, we need transaction manager, transactions now. If you see our Hibernate code, the same thing, right? We need a session factory where it uses this XML file. What this XML file will contain? That will contain your database related part, database connection related part. And session factory, what session factory contains? Session factory is used to create sessions where using sessions, we can do all the database operations. And we also need transactions, right? We should begin a transaction, end a transaction, right? Now, when we integrate this Hibernate with Spring also, we need all this, but we can define in another way. Here we define like this, creating a session factory, and then from factory.get current session. Okay, we have studied like this. But now when we integrate with Spring, you know what should be? So now when we integrate this with Spring, right? When we integrate Spring, what is needed? So all these, I mean, the session factory, right? Okay, the database related, okay, transaction manager, all should be defined as Spring Beans. All should be defined as Spring Beans. Now you see. So what we have to do is, now whatever the database related, like your username, password, your database host name, and this is your database name. This is your DB host name. Right? And this is your database name. Right? But now, this is the driver class. So this is a driver class, com.mysql. Your driver class. And this is the user ID and this is the password. And we all define this in a bean called, data source. And this is a third party library. What is a data source means? This data source is, we call it as a connection pool. We call it as a connection pool. What is a connection pool means? It is a buffer or storage of database connections, connection objects stored in memory. See, what is connection pool? I'll explain. Say, for example, I have an application. In my application, I have a code. I have an application where I have a code like driver manager dot. Right? We have this code, right? In JDBC, we say driver manager dot get connection. Right? So every time this is called, a new connection object is created. And using this connection object, it will connect to the database. That means suppose this application is running in a website and say different users are accessing your application. Say at a time, say for example, at a time, say 100 requests has come to this application. 100 requests. Are accessing the application. Now, what will happen now? 100 connection objects are created. right? That means this is called 100 times. So this will call this method, this will call get connection, this will call get connection, this will call get connection. So 100 connection objects is created every time. And then here somewhere you are handling after completing everything, you will say connection dot close. So 100 requests are accessing the application means 100 connection objects are created. That means every time that means so every time a new request comes, right? So this driver manage.get connection is called, and that will actually create a new connection. Suppose 10,000 requests comes, 10,000 connection objects are created, and after completing them, this will be closed. But in real time, this is not the good practice. We should not create the database connection only when the request comes. Okay. So what will happen is whenever a new request comes in this scenario, whenever a new request comes, right? Whenever a new request comes, so whenever a new request comes, a new database connection object is created. And when connection is closed, when DB connection is closed, when we say DB connection, connection dot close, right? This we know in JDBC, right? Even in Hibernate, when it gets closed, in Hibernate, when we call session.getTranslate.commit, that means your DB connection is closed. In your JDBC, we say connection.close, and in Hibernate, when we say getTranslate.commit, it will be closed. So whenever a new request comes, a new database connection is created. When DB connection is closed, the connection object gets removed. The connection object gets deleted, or object gets deleted, right? So suppose 10,000 connection objects comes. So 10,000 connection request comes, connection objects are created and they're closed after some. But this is not the best way, because what happens if DB is not responding, if your database is very slow, your connection object will be hanging like that, right? So that means every time a new connection object is created, your memory grows on keeping content. So that means 10,000 requests are coming means 10,000 connection objects are created, and for 10,000 connection objects, they occupy more memory. So instead of that, we go with this connection pool concept. So what we do in connection pool is, when the application is started itself, the application started itself, connection pool gets created. Just 1 minute, I'm getting one call, just 1 minute. Yeah, all right then. Yeah, sorry, I got one call. Yeah, actually, I'll disconnect this session at 7 o'clock. By 7 o'clock, I have to join one meeting. But anyhow, tomorrow I'll continue explaining this project. But in this 15 minutes, what I will explain you, importantly, I'll be telling you. Okay, I'll share you this project code also. Okay, now when the application it started itself, connection pool gets created. Okay, so what is connection pool means? It is a buffer. It is some buffer in a memory, a buffer. You can think like a reservoir or a buffer. And what this connection pool contains is, it contains connection objects. It contains connection objects. These are all your DB connection objects. See, just like if you say driver manager.get connection, you'll get one connection object. But now these connections objects are created when the application is started itself, is getting started itself. But this connection object is created only when user request comes. But these are created when the application is getting started. And how many connection objects are created in this buffer is, we define that with some kind of min pool size. So minimum number of connection objects are 5. Your maximum number of connections are 20, right? So now say we are creating with say 5 connection of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, 6 are there, right? Now these are your connection objects. Now what will happen is, this is your connection pool. Okay, this is your connection. Right? Now what will happen is, now when a request comes to this application, now when a user request comes to an application. Okay, when a request, this is running in a browser. Now when a user request comes now what will happen is, now this application, now what you say is, you said we call this as a data source. Remember, we call this as a data source. This connection pool is also called data source. Data source means it is a source for multiple connection objects, not a single connection object. It is a source for multiple connection object. Now, when in the code, instead of driver manager.get connection, in our code we say data source.get connection. In a say this in our source.get connection. Now you know what will happen now? Now this will not create a new connection. This will not create a new connection. So this will get the connection object from the data source. This is also called connection pool. Right? So we get, so this will not create a new connection. This will get the connection object from the data source or connection pool. So that means from this connection pool, say suppose there are initially 5 connection objects are there, it will take one connection object and give. And now the code, your Hibernate code or your JDBC code, you will use this object and connect to the database. Suppose, and now once this is done, okay, once we process the data and everything, we execute the query and everything. At the end of the program, we say connection dot close. Now what will happen, you know? Here in normal driver management, it's a connection dot close. the connection object gets deleted. But here it is not like that. When we say connection.close, the object will be returned back to the pool. The object will be returned back to the pool. It will not. So connection.close will return. Connection.close will return the object, the connection object will return the connection object back to the pool. Okay. That means, the advantage of this is now this connection object, whatever it is returned back to the pool, now it can serve another new user request. So another new user request comes. Okay. Now that connection object, whatever available in the pool, it can serve other user request. Okay. So for example, now let us think like this. Now there are 5 objects in the connection pool. Now 5 users came at a time. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. From different locations, they are connecting. Now what will happen for all these 5 requests? For all these 5 requests, these 5 connection objects are used. Okay, and they are doing the processing. Still, they are doing the processing. Still, no user request call this connection.close, and a new request comes, and a new request has come now. This is a 6th request. Now in this connection pool, there is no object. All these objects are being used by these 5 user requests. Now a 6th request has come. What will happen now? Now there is no connection object in this. Now your connection pool, what it will it will go to your maximum pool size, which is 20. That means first it started with 5 connection objects. So 5 users are accessing them. So immediately, so still the 5 users are in process. They did not close the connection object. So 6th request has come. So, but there is no object in the pool. So your connection pool, what it will know? It will increase its pool size. It will create the connections to till 20, maximum 20. Okay. Now 6th request has come. Now it will take the connection object from the pool and use it. Okay. So it will be like this. So first 5 requests. 1, 5 objects are created initially. This is your initial pool size. Now 5 requests has come now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now all these 5 objects are used by these 5 requests. Now your pool is empty. Your reservoir, your storage area is empty. Now a new request has come now. Now there is no connection object for this new user. What will happen now? Your connection pool now will increase its size to 20. Now 20 objects will be created now. Maximum size it can go till 20. Okay, it can go till 20. Like that 20 objects are created. So total your connection pool size will be 20. Right. Now a 6th request has come. 6th request, it will take 1 object now from the pool. Now 5 plus 1, how much? 6. So 6 requests are taking now 6 connection objects. Now how many remaining will be there? 14. 20 minus 6, 14. 14 connection objects will be there in the pool now. Now it can serve other 14 requests now. Okay. Now what happens now? All these are engaged. Now a new request comes where this connection pool is empty. Now it cannot go beyond 20. Your 20 is maximum pool size. So now these 20 connection objects are now see all the requests are using this connection objects in the pool. Now your connection object your pool is empty. Now a new request comes where your pool is empty. Now definitely it will be waiting. It will be waiting till it gets connection object from the pool. When it will get now these 20 requests are using the connection objects, right? Now in that, say in that 5 or 4, they call this close method. They call, once they are done with their operations, they call the close method. Now what will happen now? These 5 or 4 connection objects, whoever called the close method, these will be coming back to the pool now. Now your pool is not empty. Now your pool is now with 4 or 5 requests, 4 or 5 connection objects, where this dot close, when they call, they are not going to destroy. Those connection objects are coming back to the pool. And now in that, one of the connection object can be given to this waiting request. If you see here, the connection objects are reused among different user requests. The same connection object. So that means it is like, so once connection object, say user 1 is using connection object connection 1, okay, and closes the connection 1, and this connection 1 returns back to the pool, right? Returns back to pool. Now user 2 can use connection 1, which is used by user 1 when connection 1 is returned back to the pool. So if you see here in the connection pool, the reusability factor is there. What is the difference between this one and connection pool? Here what happens, here 10,000 requests comes, 10,000 new connection objects are created every time. This driver manage.get connection. So 10,000 connection objects are created. But here, what we can do? We can specify some 1,000 or 2,000 connection objects here. 1,000 or 2,000. 1,000 or 2,000 connection objects. Okay. We can specify. Suppose, say, at a time, say 5,000 requests has come. Now these 1,000 or 2,000 objects can be served to those 5,000. Once they are done, these connection objects can be returned back to the pool, and these can serve other 5,000 requests. That means 10,000 requests here can be served with only 1,000 or 2,000 connection objects by reusing the objects. But here in this scenario, it is not like that. 10,000 user requests are, for every request, we are creating one object. So 10,000 user requests means 10,000 connection objects. So which is a very expensive operation. This is a very expensive. Every time creating a connection object and closing the connection object is a very expensive operation. Because every time an object is created, it requires some memory. Then again, closing it requires some operations. So this is an expensive, this is a time-taking operation. That means 10,000 requests, 10,000 connection objects creation means time taking. But here it is not like that. So once we define a pool with, say, some 1,000 or 2,000 connection objects, so these 1,000 or 2,000 connection objects can be reused in all these 10,000 requests. Like suppose some users are done with their connection, those connections will be returned back to the pool, and they will be serving the other users. In that way, they can be reused among the different user requests. Okay, so this is what this connection pool tells. So in connection pool, there are different third-party libraries to implement this connection pool library. So in that, say there is one, this is a third-party library where we can implement connection pool library, right? And similarly, if you go for your, this is a combo pool data source. Similarly, there is one more data source, which is called Hikari. These are your third party. This is used for in Spring Boot actually. Hikari connection pool. Okay. So now what we specify now, we specify a data source. So data source is nothing but connection pool. In that we give the MySQL driver. If it's Oracle means you can give Oracle. We give JDBC URL, which is your local host, your database name. Next your username, password. We give minimum pool size, maximum pool size. That means how many minimum number of connections and how many maximum number of connections. And then we give max idle time. What is max idle time? Which is equal to your, this is your milliseconds. Your second milliseconds. So what do you mean by this is, if the connection is not active for so much of time, it will be again returned back to the pool. Suppose if your user is taken the connection, but it is not using actively, so it will return back to the pool in this much amount of time, right? So what I'll do is I have to join one call at 7 o'clock. Everyone understood this concept? What is this connection pool and all that? Okay, tomorrow I'll continue on this session factory, this all. Tomorrow I'll explain the complete project. So what we have defined is, now we have defined the data source bean with these steps. And next we'll see this one. Everyone understood today's concept? Everyone understood whatever I told you, connection pooling, whatever I told you. Everyone understood? So tomorrow, don't miss my session. So tomorrow I'll be explaining you the complete project.